Hello, this is an evangelistic message that I wanted to practice so I could better share the gospel with people as I evangelize. We live in a fallen world, and we know this. In our heart of hearts, we can feel that this world is under the curse of sin and death. Even more, we know that this sin and death was caused by us. We're the ones who reached out for the fruit, took it, and through doing so, chopped down the tree of life that we so richly depended on. We severed our branch from that tree and now are blown about like chaff along the roadside. And now we face the righteous and just consequences from that sin, from taking the fruit. And while we do have a physical death, there's a non-physical reality behind that. Our separation, our severance from God, who is life itself to us. This severance is very clear. We can see it throughout the Bible, through the Israelites' attempts to get back to fellowship with God, but their impending failure to do so. And then we see the consequences for these actions. Ezekiel 29, 9 through 10 says, a sword is sharpened for slaughter, polished to flash like lightning. This is a symbol of perfect justice. Justice that we would have received. But that sword, that very same sword, is no longer sharpened for our necks. It didn't miss, but rather it fell on Christ, the only one who was able to bear its blow. It is no longer sharpened for our neck. In Christ, it has become no longer the weapon of our destruction, but rather Christ's weapon as the righteous King has become his tool for our protection. The Bible talks a lot about stones. One example of this is stones were commonly used as an execution. If somebody sinned under the old covenant, they would be stoned to death. And I think it's really beautiful that those very same stones that would have been used for our execution because of our sin is now used to seal Christ in the tomb, to trap him there under our sin so that he could pay the death that he didn't deserve, but he freely chose to have. And I think it's so beautiful that he did not stay under those rocks, that burden, that stone, but that he bore the just judgment that we deserved and freely took it, but did not stay under it. The Bible also talks a lot about water. The water that we would have been drowning in our sin and death, has now become the symbol of our resurrection. In baptism, we are dunked under the water, symbolizing our death, and then risen up. Water is also turned into wine by God, symbolizing our communion with him. That sweet communion with him, and also our washing of our clothing. The filthy rags that we have on are now turned into glorious garments through the washing of his blood. that water is the only hope that we have of freeing ourselves from our dirty clothes. So why wait? Why would we stay under the weight of that death that pushed us down, forcing us to bow before death and Satan, when Christ has offered to cut it off of us, to free us from that same burden? So why would we stay there? So rise up, leap for joy, and shout, because Christ has offered you a way of escape, a way to then be in fellowship with Christ. And the story comes full circle at this point where before we were stuck out of fellowship from Christ, we now have a offered chance to join in fellowship, in perfect fellowship, in fellowship where even angels